Thanks, Brenda. This is really an incredible program. I've learned so much just by being here. My background, like Brenda said, I'm a CPA. I'm one of the partners in charge of our cannabis practice. And it's an exciting industry to be in right now. We're at the, like Brenda said, we're really at the second inning of a long game. And everybody here tonight is going to learn so much about every aspect of cannabis. There's an Internal Revenue Code section called 280E. 280E was designed to disallow ordinary and necessary business expenses if you're a drug dealer. And because cannabis is a Schedule I drug, cannabis companies cannot deduct ordinary and necessary business expenses. So how does that affect us if we're in the cannabis business? What it means is I've got a lot of things that I spend money on that I can't deduct. So I might have to I'm gonna show a taxable profit even if I didn't have any money left at the end of my fiscal year, which if you're an investor, you could get a K-1 that says you gotta report a certain amount of money on your tax return. It's called phantom income, but you didn't get any money. So now what? What do we do? And that's why you come to accountants. We help you try to structure it in ways that we can move as many expenses as we can to the cost of goods sold section of the income statement. Maybe we separate out the various companies into different buckets so that some of them don't touch the flower. The key phrase is touching the flower. So as long as you touch the flower, 280E applies, and you cannot deduct ordinary and necessary business expenses. You can only deduct cost of goods sold. And there are bills in Congress to change this, but it hasn't happened yet. Banking is another issue. Banking is available. It is legal for banks to bank cannabis companies, but a lot of banks don't want to have to go through the FinCEN requirements. So what you see is a lot of local banks. You see a lot of banks where the grow centers are located. Upstate New York, some one or two branch bank is banking cannabis, but Citibank and Chase, they're not going to. It's a know your client type of requirement that the banks have to follow in order to bank cannabis. They need to know that that deposit that came in was from a legitimate sale of cannabis and not from black market sales. So that's a restriction. Obviously, we have so many multi-state operators. It's just these banks like to stay under the radar, but there are banks out there, and we work with a number of them. So it's not an impossible, but it's the banks that are in the space charge a lot more to a cannabis company than they would to a regular company because they know that there's a limited supply of banks and they can get away with it. So let's talk about lending. I skipped that over. Most banks will not lend in the cannabis space. Private lenders do. Private lenders will hire accountants to verify that the numbers that they see on an income statement are accurate, and they'll lend, and the opportunity is for funds that can put money together and lend in the space, getting a higher coupon than if you were able to go to a Chase or a Citibank. There's a publicly traded company, ILPR, that is a REIT that they rent to grow centers. Stock is doing great. They pay a great dividend. So the opportunity for us out there to invest in things like that is great until the banks start realizing that they're missing out. Valuation, I think, is the trickiest part of our cannabis practice, because how are we gonna value it? If I can't deduct my expenses, I'm showing a big profit, I gotta pay a lot of tax, but what did I really make? I didn't have any cash left. So, and Brendan mentioned that Cowen and Jeffries are the only two major financial companies that are right now providing any insight into the industry. We don't really have comps. When you want to do a valuation on a company, you're gonna have comps that you're gonna look to for other companies within the industry. We don't have a lot of comps that we can fall back on. So we have to be creative. By being creative, I'm saying there's alternative methods for us as investors to look at a company, to value it. Since we're a big investment community here, how are we gonna value this particular company? If somebody's doing a raise for 30, 40, 50 million, how do we really know what we're getting? So we try and come up with some algorithms that would be important for that particular part of the industry. So if it's a pharmaceutical company, what algorithms are gonna apply? If it's a growing company, what algorithms can I come up with that are gonna really make this a meaningful valuation, so that you as an investor can understand what's going on and you can make an intelligent decision about investing in cannabis companies. There's subjective factors. I looked at a particular transaction in which the allure was that they're the only company that has a grow center in a particular area. And so you would think, wow, that's great. The only company that can grow in that particular area, except that particular area is about a 12-hour plane ride from anywhere, so the cost of transporting it has to be factored in. And obviously, when you're getting a prospectus, the person who's raising the money isn't gonna tell you that. As you can see, what we see is that the valuations are all over the place. These aren't publicly traded companies. Listen, if we want to participate in investing in cannabis, you could buy Canopy Growth, you could buy Kronos, you could buy Aurora, and all of these are being you have all of the big companies investing in these companies. Altria put in money, Constellation Brands invested in Canopy Growth, InBev invested. So those are much easier for us to evaluate and to understand, since those multiples are all very, very similar. But what you really have to do is, if you're gonna invest, it's the same metric whether it's cannabis or any other company. Who's running the company? What's the management team? What's the game plan? What's the growth strategy? Am I gonna be a multi-state operator? Am I gonna be able to dominate a particular industry? And there's, within the industry itself, am I investing in technology? Am I investing in a grow center? Is it a genetics company? Is it a manufacturer of, like Brenda said, these extraction facilities could fill the entire room today. I kept it brief. I hope that was
that guy up there.
Really, I hope that was informative. I have a couple of colleagues here, so I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody about everything we just spoke about.
Robert?
Thanks, Brenda.